Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And last year I started doing this video where I compare hot topics from the Wendy Williams show to girls chat on The Real. And around the time that I started doing the videos was around the time that my channel was no longer monetized. And then Wendy went on her summer hiatus. And then when she came back, she was a little crazy. So I said, okay, I'm going to wait and see if Wendy can get it together before I start back doing this. But we all know that Wendy is out on an extended medical leave, and she's been using co-host for the past couple of weeks. And this week, her co-host is Nick Cannon. I think he's going to be there. He was there yesterday, today, and then tomorrow. So he has 3 days. So I said, okay, let me go ahead and start it back, and hopefully Wendy will come back in. So Nick came out, had on this pink suit and some sparkly silver shoes, and he made sure that the cameraman gave him some shoe cam. And so he was talking when he first came out, like giving us well, not really an update on Wendy, but just basically saying that Wendy's doing better and explaining how people don't understand that when you have autoimmune deficiencies, that when other things happen, so in this case, Wendy says she has a fractured shoulder, it starts messing with her Graves' disease, and that's why she, is out. And so he was saying that he talked to Wendy, Kevin, and Lil Kev. They were all together. They're doing fine. The family's happy. And I'm like, okay, we're going to continue this facade that Kevin is not driving this woman crazy with his mistress. So, Nick gave the good, he put up the good fight for Wendy to let us know that Wendy is okay. So then he goes to sit down, and instead of sitting in Wendy's purple, or it's like a purplish pink chair, they had like this orange chair out there. So he sat in the orange chair. So the only thing I did, like, Nick was hilarious. He was hilarious. He did Wendy well, okay? And so I had posted on Twitter. I said, okay, one of my favorite lines from the movie Love and Basketball is, "Don't let a freshman take your spot." So Wendy, you need to come on back and get your chair. But the only thing I didn't like about Nick was that Nick was yelling. Like, I was like, why is he yelling? Isn't he mic'd up? Like, sometimes I'm talking loud because my camera is actually about 2 or 3 feet away from me. So I'm like trying to make sure my voice is projecting. But I'm sure Nick had like a mic on him. There were probably some mics hanging from the ceiling. And he was just yelling and yelling and yelling. And I was like, why don't one of those producers tell him, bring it down? And then he also did like the Jerry guy. Remember Jerry had, I can't think of his name, but he sat in for Wendy when she had the fainting spell about, I think it was the end of 2017, where she had the Statue of Liberty suit on, costume on for Halloween. He was out there yelling and carrying on, and then they had to tell him to tone it down. And then when he came back the next day, he was like, okay, I was excited, but they told me to bring it down. So let's hope they tell Nick to bring it on down. So let's go ahead and get into the hot topics. So Nick came out, he was talking about, the first thing he talked about was the Super Bowl. And he was saying that he did not watch the Super Bowl. He actually spent the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick, that they're really good friends. And so he hung out with Cap, and he wanted to let everybody know that Cap didn't watch the Super Bowl either, that they were doing some other things. He says that the Super Bowl was a huge flop. And then he was like saying some things that people were saying on social media. And one of them was, he said people were comparing it to the Fire Festival. If you guys haven't, I haven't seen the documentary because I don't have Netflix or Hulu or any of those things. But the Fire Festival was a festival that was involving Ja Rule and this young millionaire or something. And they con people out of all like thousands of dollars to fly to this island that's owned by this boxer. I think it's Manny Pacquiao. And then they were going to have like this exclusive experience, this exclusive music festival, and it turned out to be a huge flop. So they were comparing the Super Bowl to that. Nick pointed out the fact that when Maroon 5 came out, they had an all-white drum line. He was like, that was such an insult, you know, with this being Black History Month. It was in Atlanta. And then he said, well, I guess all the HBCU band members were standing with Cap. So I was like, you know, talking about Kaepernick, like they probably refused to come on stage with Maroon 5 because they want to support Colin Kaepernick, so they had to go out and get this all-white drum line. And when I was saw the clip of the drum line, I was like, okay, but didn't Beyonce do that a couple of years ago? And then I think, okay, maybe that was Coachella when she brought the marching bands out. So then he moved on to Travis Scott and said that Travis Scott looked like he had been shot out of a cannon that was made to look like SpongeBob's ass, and said that he came on the stage wearing a waist trainer. Then he compared Adam Levine being shirtless, because I guess Adam Levine came out with this tank top on, and I saw a lot of people on social media like pulling out towels out of their bathrooms, their shower curtains, all this different pillows, saying that they all had this design on them that looked like the tank top that Adam Levine had on. So social media was dragging him about this tank top. Well, I guess at some point he took the tank top off. And so now people are saying that he should have been fined, and, you know, discrimination. And Janet Jackson had a malfunction with her outfit when she did the Super Bowl with Justin Timberlake, and now she's been banned from performing at the Super Bowl. But then Adam Levine could come out there and take his whole top off and just be topless out there, and how there's a double standard. And Nick was saying, talk about brown nipples matter too. And I saw people on social media basically talking about they didn't know Adam Levine was this fine, how turned on they were by all of his tattoos. And so it was a mixed bag on that whole situation. Then he went on to 21 Savage, Free 21 Savage. And he was saying that he didn't know that he was British. And then, you know, talked about how 21 Savage came to the U.S. when he was 13 and never renewed his visa. He says that he's a good guy that does a lot in the community. And then he went on to talk about how Demi Lovato got roasted on Twitter after saying that the 21 Savage memes was the best part of the Super Bowl. And she eventually got upset and shut down all of her social media after Black Twitter lit her butt up. Okay, and then my thing with Black Twitter, I love Black Twitter, but they can just go too hard sometimes. And, you know, I'm sure there were Black people on Twitter that were making fun, you know, making jokes about 21 Savage being held by immigration. But because a white woman said it, then y'all want to get all upset and angry about it and get all serious about it. And I don't know if it's a Black Twitter thing or if it's just a millennial thing where they are so sensitive, have no sense of humor, and everything is an issue for them. Like, they are outraged about everything. But Demi, you're going to have to get a tough skin, girl, and say what you say, mean what you say, and don't be running off of Twitter because people getting all upset because you don't even know them people that's coming in. Well, you knew some of them, but most of them you ain't know them. So, about the 21 Savage guy, you guys probably already know, immigration picked him up, and I'm going to do another video, which is a weekend recap where I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But it did come out that he's actually not from Britain. He's from Dominica, the island of Dominica, which I guess is under British control or something like that. But I'll get more into that into the next video. So then Nick said that he wonders if Tekashi 6ix9ine snitched on 21 Savage. Because y'all know Tekashi getting a whole bunch of people in trouble. And I don't foresee the little young man being with us much longer. I could be wrong, but I don't know how they're going to put him in witness protection with all them doggone tattoos all over his face. Like, he going to have to get a whole facial reconstruction done. And they're going to have to move him out of the country to another country. I guess go to whatever island Tupac is on, because y'all say Tupac ain't dead. But Nick was wrong for that. So then he moves on to Bow Wow. You know, Bow Wow and his girlfriend were both arrested for domestic violence. And he says that the girlfriend, her name is Kiani, is a Wildin' Out, one of the Wildin' Out girls. And so he says he's friends with Bow Wow and Kiani, so he's not going to discuss that at this time. He wants to talk to them, find out what actually happened before he comes back on and talks about that story. And I'm thinking, no, you can't be biased, Nick. You're going to have to clown them just like you done clowned everybody else on this show. But he said he ain't doing that. He's going to be a real friend, and he wants to come back with facts. So then he went on to talk about Pete Davidson dating this 45-year-old actress, and Naomi Campbell, who's dating Liam Payne. Then he went on to make jokes about younger men dating older women, and how, you know, he was upset that Naomi didn't give him a shot because he loves older women. And, you know, he made a couple of jokes about, you know, him and Mariah Carey, and how, you know, he was the originator of dating cougars and all of this stuff. Mariah's going to get tired of y'all putting her name in y'all mouth. Like, let it go. That's the mother of your children. Don't be joking about that. So then, I usually don't cover the guest or anything, but after he finished Hot Topics, he had these two little boys on there that were from Jersey Pizza or something. I guess they're famous for making pizza, but they're little kids. They was trying to get Nick to spin that batter. He done threw the batter all across the room. Then they had him out there dancing with the kids. They throwing the pizza across his head. And so, you know how Wendy be eating the food that the people come on there and cook and be talking about how good it is, or, you know, putting her hot sauce and everything on it. Nick took a bite of that pizza. Well, first of all, Nick didn't want to eat the pizza, because when they first started doing the cooking demonstration, he said, okay, well, we ain't gonna wash our hands, put gloves on. Nothing. So when they got to the end of the demonstration and gave Nick that pizza, and the pizza was already cut and on this little tray, you could tell that the producers told Nick he had to bite that pizza. So they kind of like got him off camera real quick. Then he had Cynthia Bailey on there from Housewives of Atlanta. She got out there and went to talking and yelling real loud. So Nick was yelling, and I know I've done this before. Like, if I'm talking loud, then people around me will start talking loud, and vice versa. If the people around me are talking loud, that makes me talk louder. I don't know why, but people do it. So Nick was talking loud. Cynthia started talking loud. They were sitting there just yelling, sitting right next to each other, yelling back and forth. But the funny thing about Cynthia was, she went to some Super Bowl party and took a picture with this white guy, and the guy told her that he was Tom Brady. So she done posted this picture on social media talking about she met Tom Brady. And Nick was looking at her like, that is not Tom Brady. And she was like, well, yeah, because she said she called her boyfriend, who is some kind of sportscaster, and told him, you know, sent the picture to him. And he was like, babe, that ain't Tom Brady. So she was totally clueless, okay? And she probably was at the Super Bowl party because she clueless about the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. And then just as a side note, you know, there was a lot of discussion back and forth where people were saying that they've kind of lost focus on the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, and they don't even know what it is that we're protesting, what it is that we want. So they're just going to go ahead and keep watching football until the whole situation is clarified and defined for them. And I think people who say ignorant statements like that are people who were never supportive of Colin Kaepernick to begin with, and that they feel they need excuses to do what they want to do. And I just tell people, you are grown. Live your best life. If you want to watch football, watch football. If you want to support the Super Bowl, support the Super Bowl. You don't need to make excuses for people on social media who don't know you in person. Okay? So knock it off. So now let's move over to The Real, who basically covered the same topics, but they do theirs with a little twist. So when they came out, they basically were saying that Mercedes-Benz had did this tweet saying that, so Mercedes-Benz is the sponsor of the dome, the arena that the Super Bowl was played in Atlanta. And so they put out a tweet that basically said that the game was a bore and they wouldn't be there if they weren't the sponsors. Then they talked about Gladys Knight and how they, weren't really angry with Gladys Knight for performing, and, people see things differently based on their age and that type of stuff. They went on to talk about, is there a double standard for men and women when it comes to nudity, talking about the whole Adam Levine taking off his tank top. And so Jeannie says that she doesn't care about Adam taking off the shirt and wish that artists had used the platform to take a stand on the whole police brutality situation, which is why Colin Kaepernick was kneeling and why he's now been blacklisted from football. Tamara says that her husband felt that the artists let the moment pass, and that they were very disappointed that Bernice King was out there doing the coin toss, but didn't have the opportunity to take the mic and make a statement. And then Lonnie says that this wasn't, as far as the white people go, this wasn't their fight or their platform, talking about Adam Levine and how, he went out there and performed and there was just nothing of substance. And she says that she disagrees and didn't felt that everyone had to address police brutality or whatever it is that they stand for, any social issues that were going on. And she also said that she felt that people probably had to sign some type of agreement, when they signed on to perform, to say that they weren't going to do any form of protest or do anything to take away from the Super Bowl. And so Adrian said that she felt that the whole situation was anticlimactic, like it was boring. She didn't get anything out of it. And then when she watched the halftime show, she was really anticipating somebody doing something, even if it was just throwing up the fist sign, but nobody did that. And so it just left her very disappointed. And they went on to talk about how, on social media, everybody was talking about how boring and uneventful the game was and the halftime show. And then they talked about the Demi Lovato statement and basically was saying, are people too sensitive to social media, and that, everybody needs to lighten up and get a sense of humor. And then with 21 Savage, they said he had people thinking that he was straight from East Atlanta. And, now they find out that he's not. And then they too were sharing the narrative that he's from Britain. And like I said, doing the research for my next show, I found out that he's not from Britain. He's actually from Dominica. Lonnie says that Black Twitter is racist and too sensitive, and that they need to leave the white girl alone. Then they moved on to the governor of Virginia, and if you are not familiar with that story, the guy, he was just elected, he's a Democrat, has a black lieutenant governor, and I'm going to cover this in the weekend review also, but basically a picture has surfaced of his medical yearbook. And so I guess each student has their own page where they could post photos that were important to him. So he had a picture of himself. He had a picture of himself sitting on a car, which I guess was popular at that time. And then there was a picture of a guy in blackface and a guy wearing a KKK outfit with the hood and all. And so I'm trying to figure out how the picture didn't surface during the campaign. And why did the picture just surface now? So that to me is quite suspect. But anyway, he came out and first apologized for the picture, and I guess was trying to say, it was 35 years ago. He's a different person now. Then he turned around and came back and said, you know what, on second thought, I finally pulled out my yearbook and looked at the pictures, and it ain't me. So now people are like, okay, dude, we was with you when you said you had changed, but now you're going to come back and try and deny that it was you altogether. So when he did that, he ended up losing a lot of support. And then he also said that when he came back, he said that, even though that wasn't him in the blackface or in the KKK costume, he said that he did attend a party dressed as Michael Jackson, and he did put something on his face to kind of make him look like a black guy, so people were joking about that, saying, well, why was you doing blackface and look like Michael Jackson when Michael Jackson was slowly transitioning to a white person? So we didn't understand that either. So Adrian says that, it was 30 years ago and that a person can change, and that, if he's really remorseful, she can forgive him and thinks that he should remain governor. Lonnie says, what type of school thought that it was even okay to put this picture in the yearbook, even if the student submitted it? And then when asked at a press conference if he could moonwalk, he was about to do it, and then he looked at his wife, and his wife had this look on her face like, don't you dare. And then Tamara says that in the medical yearbook, he is identified as a racist by his friends because there were two people that signed the yearbook and they referred to him as Coon Man. And then when asked if he ever wore a KKK uniform, they say he deflected from answering the question. And then they also went on about the Pete Davidson being 25 and Kate Beckinsale being 45 years old. And that Liam Payne dating Naomi Campbell and talking about they have mind-blowing sex, which I don't know why he felt the need to be putting that out there in social media. And so they asked the question, are boy toys what women want for Valentine's Day? So Lonnie says that there is nothing new about younger men dating older women, and she says, for herself personally, she liked men young, but I kind of doubt that because we know Lonnie is dating that old white man right now. So I don't know how he's feeling about her saying that she prefers a younger man. And she's saying that everybody should get one and try it. And then she brings up Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher, when how they were all happy and in love and everybody was celebrating their relationship, but then when Ashton decided he wanted kids, it was a problem because Demi, she was much older and she was beyond her childbearing years, so she couldn't give him any kids or didn't want to give him any kids because of her age, and they ultimately broke up. So Jeannie says that she doesn't think she would ever date a younger man, and definitely not a man that much younger, because when she's dating somebody, they have to match up mentally. And although he may be fine and satisfying in bed, if they not on the same wavelength and he's not mature, it's not going to work out. Then Adrian says that men do it all the time with younger women and nobody seems to have a problem with it. And then, and that kind of brought up for me, like with the whole R. Kelly thing, because you guys know Scott Disick, who has all them kids from the sister with all the kids, the one that's kind of quiet, the Kardashian. See, Courtney. So Courtney's, the guy she has her kids from, he's dating Lionel Richie's daughter. And when they first started dating, I think she was like 18 or 19 years old, and people didn't really have a problem with that. So I guess it depends on who's dating the younger person that they have a problem with. So then Tamara says, I want to be taught, not be the teacher. And she says that she likes to learn new things from her husband, who is 7 years older than her. And she says that, she would never talk about sex in public, but Adam has taught her so much. And that's why she talks so much about sex on the show. And she says that people think that people who are sexual look a certain way. She says, but watch out for the quiet ones because both her and her husband are nerds, but they get their freak on. Okay. Then they went on to talk about Oprah did a girls trip to the Bahamas last week, and it was so funny that they talked about that because I have a friend named Kentaya Biller who actually got the call. I guess Oprah put out that she was doing this cruise back in June of last year, and it sold out immediately, but then they put people on a waiting list. So Kentaya had paid her money, the down payment, and when she found out it was sold out, she tried, she waited to get her money back, and she said that, 6 months passed, and she was like, okay, is y'all gonna send me my money or not? And so she started calling, and the people said, oh, well, you're number 35 on the waiting list. We're going to give it 2 more weeks, before we start issuing refunds. So she was like, okay. So then last Saturday, she got the call that she had made it to the top of the waiting list and that she could go on the trip, pay the rest of her money. So the trip was Wednesday through Saturday. And so she was posting video and everything. And so I saw her Saturday night because we did a painting with the twist. And I said, girl, I'm going to write a blog about people who go to these events where they're in the company of famous people and celebrities and they can't enjoy themselves because they're so busy trying to video record and take pictures and do all of that. And so I said, because I was looking at your timeline and I'm like, okay, well, when is she going to enjoy the trip? But anyway, so back to the reel. So they were talking about that, and they were talking about Oprah was passing out these tequila shots. And they wanted to know, like, if you were in the presence of Oprah or another celebrity and you weren't a real drinker, would you have taken the shot and like passed it on to a friend, or would you have declined the shot? Like if Oprah standing there with a tray, would you be like, oh no, that's not for me? So Lonnie says that Oprah just turned 65 and still enjoys her freedom, although she's been in this 50-year relationship with Stedman, who we hardly ever see with her. And she says that not only would she have taken the shot, she would have took 3 of them. And Adrian says that there's always that friend that would have pushed the tray away because of a diet or something. And then Jeannie, she said that Jeannie would have taken the drink. Tamara would have declined it, because she's not a big drinker. And then she says that Lonnie would have been pushing drinks on everyone, like, here, take a drink, take a drink, take a drink. And Adrian says that she's not a big drinker, but will order a drink when she's out at dinner and then just let the drink sit there on the table just to look cool. And she says that when they go out with Lonnie eventually takes the drink and drinks it for her. And then Jeannie says that when Adrian does drink, she gets turned up. So they try to get her to drink all the time. And so that was it for Girls Chat. Their guest was B2K. So they had the guys come out there. And it was just the same. They weren't asking them really any deep questions. Just talking about, why did they decide to do the tour and that type of thing. So that's it for me, guys. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.